What was he like, Christopher? Much more reserved than David, for example. Right to right.
I can see all the zombies.
He was very pleasant to me. I didn't get to know him terribly well, although we did have some chats. I would have said, happily married, family man. He had, I don't remember how many kids, so he'd sort of talk about his wife quite a lot. And
she was an actress.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yes, pretty blonde. I don't think she was the first wife, but anyway, that was the present wife. And I think. I never asked him sort of why he did the movie or whether he'd done horror movies. I think again he wanted to go to Rome because I remember his wife came over and he stayed in a very nice hotel. And he quite how well known he was then, but he seemed to think that he was quite well known.
I think he was well known for American TV.
I think he probably was. He was quite cool, I would have said. My memory tells me he was possibly a bit reserved. I don't feel like I got to know him that well.
No.
But perfectly pleasant on the set. We joked around. And
was there ever a feeling that the Italian movies were in any way substandard, sort of not the area people wanted to work in, or was everyone very, very excited?
When you were working on them, you mean?
Yeah. Because now they're so popular.
Well, even at the time, yes, I do know.
Attitude
was a B-movie, and yes. Well, I think the English attitude is sort of particular in itself. I mean, I don't know. It was exciting because my agents kind of gave me that impression that it was sort of unimportant, the kind of B-movie, spaghetti horror type stuff. Personally, I found it rather amusing that I was doing this. I thought it was hysterically funny that I was starring in these sort of spaghetti horrors. I had no idea that they were going to turn it into such a cult. I literally thought I was going to take the money and run, so to speak, and take the check at the end of the day, if it came, which it did, which was surprising, because it almost doesn't with the Italians. I think Catriona must have been up there threatening them if they didn't get the check in on time. Well, one did realise that once I got there, started working with them, how professional the crew were and how good a lot of them were, and that they had done a lot of really important movies. I mean, this was one of the best makeup people in the whole of Italy, probably still is. And, the script lady whom I became really friends with, I think she did 2 out of the 3 with me.
Wasn't she on Fellini movies?
Yes, and they've done fantastic. Antonioni, whatever. Fantastic CVs. So it seemed to me that everybody was working, they knew what they were doing, and they just got on with it. Do you know what I mean? And I like to think professional, so I will always give off my best and try and be as good as is possible. Which is sometimes difficult when you've got sort of a tight schedule and they haven't got time to do as many takes as you would like them to do. So I seem to remember actually being pretty tired over the fact now. Coming back to me now, I do seem to remember being pretty tired because I was there a lot of days and just that getting up early number. I seem to remember going out quite late sometimes in Rome too, which I probably shouldn't have done. Probably should have been wrapped up in bed. I had a lot of good mates in Rome. Yeah, when in Rome, exactly. But it was, I had a lot of fun. And when I got there, again, I hadn't realised it before I left, but I realised how respected those types of movies were in Italy. There was nothing to be ashamed of. On the contrary, and it permitted me to go and meet really important agents who were delighted to meet me. And Lucio Fulci could well show up at the dinner party with some of the most intellectual filmmakers in Italy, who would treat him as one of them, and that he'd been part of the famous Dolce Vita lifestyle in the 50s, which was all about the kind of new wave Italian industry and the intelligentsia. So I realised that there was a complete different attitude to them over there.
86, but Beyond 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did you ever hear about it?
I can't remember. If that was one of the ones that... I mean, Lucio did ring me up, or somebody rang me up on his behalf. I think it was Peroni again. And I was thinking, now, hello. What's this all about? Because I'd already had several other agents by then. And I thought, what kind of fast one is he trying to pull on me this time? And I don't know, it wasn't the right time in my life. I was probably married to John then, or I had another job, and I didn't want to go back down that track. But, so I didn't do it. I don't know who did. It didn't happen?
No.
I don't think it happened because I said, it did not happen because I said no, but obviously it didn't happen. But I mean now, because I've taken a bit of a distance on the whole thing, I might be quite amused,
Did you find it difficult to actually, in scenes with Italians, when they say that it's Italian?
Oh, yeah.
Because that scene in Happy Cemetery, you're talking to the little blonde boy at the beginning.
He's speaking Italian,
He sees a little face in the window. And
Well, I mean, I speak a little bit of Italian, less now than I used to, so I probably couldn't understand what he was saying. Plus, I've read the script in English, so... But it can be difficult.
The Italian films all shot silent and synced afterwards.
Well, no, we would shoot some kind of sound, sort of, guide track, soundtrack, so that when we came to dub them, we knew what we said, actually.
So you had to get that some weeks later and go into the studio.
Well, yes, except, I think I told this story the other night, except for the City of the Living Dead, where they decided it would be cheaper. They didn't basically want to pay more per diem for me to come back and another flight, so they decided it would be cheaper for me to dub it before I left. The trouble was they hadn't chosen the takes, so I ended up having to dub every single take, and sometimes there were sort of 12, Especially, and I remember one in particular where all I was doing was saying, like that, and I ended up having to dub it. I didn't have any voice left 12 times. I thought, this is ridiculous. They couldn't use the same screen twice because, I don't know, my mouth was different or something was different with each shot. So I said never again, because it took twice as long. I thought this is completely ridiculous.
That's difficult.
Yes.
Technique-wise, it sounds...
Yes. Well, you get used to sort of screaming. You do have to save your voice a bit, because otherwise, you lose it. Yeah.
It's just that many people don't pick it up, but in 40 movies, especially from that period, 81 to about 83, women are just killed left, right, and centre.
You mean in horror movies, or in movies generally?
Horror movies generally as well.
I'll just say that...
See, I don't remember dying in these movies, did I? I didn't die. And also, I didn't have too many horrendous things done to me, but I did a lot of screaming and running away. But the supporting cast had some terrible things done to them.
If it was long, the one that had it was a supporting cast.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think Catriona had what you might call the worst end of the stick where Fulci's concerned.
I don't think, the problem with Lucio is that he's such an extraordinary and difficult man. I don't think he likes women. I had been, and we talked about this the other night too, I had been warned about working with him, and people had said he hates actresses, and he's very, very difficult, and, he'll scream at you and make you cry, and that just kind of had the opposite effect on me. I thought, oh, Willie, right, fine, we'll see about that. Okay, great. And I found it a bit of a challenge trying to tame this man in a way. And I think I succeeded quite well, actually. Oh, yes, I thought, I'm as good as you, and you're going to get everything, you take, so to speak. You're going to get as good as you give.
Would you say he hates women, or is he scared by them?
Probably terrified of them, and takes it out in that way, by representing them like that on screen. Because you see, exactly what you said in answer to that question. I didn't die. I never had anything too horrendous done to me. Now, whether that was because it was written that way, or he liked me, or so he didn't have me live these terrible fates. Maybe it was a bit of both. Maybe he kind of protected me from that.
I was thinking earlier when you were talking about this that you are actually some of his, the parts that you played are some of his strongest heroines.
Yeah, well,
it is interesting.
It is, isn't it?
That you are.
I am like that in real life, and I am like that in real life, but perhaps it wouldn't have been that way, it wouldn't have come over that way, had it been played by another actress. That's what comes first, the chicken or the egg, it's one of those questions, but I find that quite gratifying that at least I gave it that. The women were strong and independent, even if they were married or running their hotel or whatever they were doing, they had a will of their own. And I would have said that was something that kind of came out despite myself, just because I am that way.
Yeah.
And he and I, we ended up liking each other. It's funny. It's really funny now to think about it. And I have a very good sense of humour, thank Christ. And that saved me, definitely. The more he got in a tantrum, the more he'd make me laugh. I just have to think this is ridiculous. This screaming child, behaving in this incredibly childish manner. And I know he liked me. I could feel it. And I ended up liking him in a rather strange way. Although I knew he could be completely impossible. So I didn't really have too many bad experiences with him. But I wouldn't have liked those slasher movies, definitely not.
It was probably a respect thing.
I'm sure it was, yeah.
So interesting.
Maybe I'm the only one that managed to tame Lucio.